I think I'm working. Oh, time to go downstairs. Hi, everyone. I'm the cat toy lady, and I have been having problems streaming. It finally worked, and of course, I'm not in my studio. So let me get everything connected. Ooh, what? Little bright. Okay, let's get this all connected, and goodness. There we go. Whew. It is amazing how much of a sweat you work up when you can't get your apps to work. But officially, hi, I'm the cat toy lady, and I am going to be doing my very first, if you couldn't tell, Q&A and a cat toy making. Whew. Hopefully everyone is having a good night. I'm a little worked up after trying to get my video camera and everything working correctly. So cheers, hopefully, to a good stream. I have multiple cat mugs, by the way. Every day is a new day when with a cat mug. Every morning. Today, it was a toss-up between my David Meowie cat cup, and my favorite person is my cat. Dollar store. I mean, you're not shocked. If you know me, you know I like the dollar store. So, hopefully everyone is doing well, and I'm going to get everything started. I do have my husband here. He is going to be helping. I don't have my glasses on, and I can't really read distance all too well. It's a bit blurry. So he's going to help me. And if you have any questions during this at any point, just let me know. That is what tonight is all about. And let me show you what I'm going to be teaching. Catnip balls. These are balls that cats can chew on. They are edible, parts of them. We'll go through that. But so they're made with non-toxic glue that cats can eat. These are starting to be sold in stores now. Just on Amazon alone, I found really cheap ones that are $4. All the way up to $12 for one. So I am going to teach you how to make these for pennies. I will warn you, trying to make these, I got swarmed by the cats, and trying to find a place to dry them since I need to dry overnight. That was also a challenge. So closets, bathrooms that you can shut the door away from your cat, things like that. It's a good start. All right. I have different types that I have made of them too. I have some that rattle. Just to let you know, the inside of this is a ping pong ball. That way I could make a nice big ball that they could roll around and not worry about swallowing whole. It also helps the catnip go a little bit farther. So I have rattling and non-rattling. I have mini, but you have to be careful. You know your cat. If your cat is a bigger cat, make these a little bit bigger. This is more of like a kitten size. I don't recommend this size. It's a little bit bigger than a nickel. I don't recommend that for adult cats. You don't want them to swallow it, choke on it. It is something that will break down in their stomach, but it has to make it to the stomach. So then I have other videos where, let me set those down. I have made ping pong balls that have fuzzy tails. This one, I made rattle, and it has the catnip on it. So they can pick it up in their mouth, carry it around. It has a good heavy weight to it. It really has that dead rat feel, the way it dangles and just hangs. So there's different ways you can make this. You can use molds to make different shapes, like the molds that you use for Easter candy or different things like that. You can use those to make different shapes. So it's nice and easy, a little gooey and messy, but that's okay. And just to kind of start things off, first, let me plug my camera in here. That way it doesn't die. And then I wanted to just let you know a little about me, since most of you do not know my history. I actually am a registered vet tech. I have been in the vet field for over 20 years now. It makes me feel a bit old, but so I am a registered vet tech. I worked at a cat clinic for many years. So it gives me a little bit more insight into cats, and I was always that cat, even in that person in the cat and dog practices that leaned more towards the cats and realized that they may not have always been treated as nicely as the dogs. So I wanted to fix that. From there, I started to work for a cat toy making company, designing cat toys. And I did that for about 5 years. So that's really where my insight into the cat toy making comes from, and why I have a little bit more thought when it comes to it, of safety. Will they be able to play with it the way you want them to? That type of thing. And let's see. I have some notes on the floor if you couldn't see me staring. I want to go ahead and just get started with making the catnip balls. Super easy. So let's get started. I'll show you what you need. Besides the clear place to work. Alright. I'm going to show you how to make one that rattles. I think that just makes it a little bit more enticing, kind of chirps a little bit like a chipmunk does. Okay, let's put everything up here. As you know, I love the dollar store, and there's one thing I am not saying to get at the dollar store. I like real ping pong balls, not the dollar store cheap ones. They don't rattle as easily. They're not as loud of a rattle, I guess you could say. And they can be a little bit harder to work with. Especially if you're going to do anything like this, where you have to add some glue to it. They melt really quickly. So, just put the money up. Spend the $5 on a dozen ping pong balls, and I got these at Target. And because I cannot make it to the dollar store right now, I could not get my dollar store catnip like I normally do. So at my Publix, I think this was $4.99, again $5. I got a big thing of catnip. The downside to this one is it has a lot of twigs and sticks that you have to pull out. All right. So, if you've seen the video where I make this guy that rattles without the catnip on it, it's the same beginning steps. Take your ping pong ball. I like these little scissors just because they're so sharp and pointy, but you can use a Phillips or a flathead screwdriver, like one of the small ones for glasses, things like that. And you just take it and you put a hole in it. Let's see if I can get the right angle for you. Nothing too big, just a little peck in it. You want it just big enough to be able to get the grains of rice in. And then you start putting rice in it. And it's not very hard. It's just time consuming. Typically it's around 15 to 20, depending on type of rice. The short rice, you'll need a little bit more of. It's small. All I had handy was brown rice. That works too. No biggie. No one's eating it. You don't have to worry about it being health conscious. And then you just drop them in the hole one at a time. I'd love to tell you there's some faster way to do this, but there's not. In the past, I have tried to build machines that could do things like this, and rice likes to jam. Things that you never thought you'd actually learn, that rice clogs things really easily. give it a rattle. And just make sure that it has a nice loud rattle. This one I'm going to do a little bit more just because it's going to have that coating of catnip around it. And that's going to dampen the sound a little. And if you can't tell, I'm not counting the exact amount of pieces that's going in. I'm just going to do it based on how loud it is and how heavy. You don't want it to be too heavy with rice either. When you shake it, put your finger over the hole and it gives you a better idea of what it's going to sound like when it's sealed over. That's good. All right, so we're done with the rice. And just set your ping pong ball to the side. I'd love to give you a good measurement, but when you start trying to measure glue, it doesn't come back out of the measuring container so neatly, and you still end up with your fingers in it, and then you have something else to wash. So I'm saying to eyeball, and of course this is a lot like baking, where if it's not wet enough, you add a little bit more. If it's too wet, you add a little bit more of the catnip. If you can't see my glue, I kind of made a mess all over it, and the catnip got glued to my container. Yeah, it's kind of gross feeling. So to start with the glue, add about a tablespoon of glue. Let's see. Oh, by the way, this is Elmer's school glue. It is non-toxic and edible. I mean, how many little kids in kindergarten sit there and eat the glue? So you know it's safe. It dries clear and it doesn't dry all rubbery. Some glues that are non-toxic have this weird bend to them. This keeps its shape, and because it's not a flour base, it doesn't mold. You have to be careful. Some people want to do very natural, and things that are more natural have a tendency of molding. And you don't want your cat to lick it one day and then come back to something that's moldy. Kind of gross. So that would be why I'm using the Elmer's school glue, which is their more liquidy, thinner glue. You can get plain Elmer's glue. It is thicker, so you'll have to use a little bit more glue, and it may be a little bit different of a consistency. So just go with this. It's at the dollar store. Go figure. All right. So start squirting out glue, if you can see there. I'm going for about a full tablespoon. I'd say that looks good. We're going to adjust it if we need to. And then you could do the whole flip it open and use the shaker part. Not worth it. All right. So I am going to pour out maybe about twice as much of the catnip as glue. Pull out the yucky, I mean, can you see how big that stick is? What cat would want to be rolling in that? I mean, really, people. All right, so pull out the hard sticks, because you really don't want those. I mean, there's a straight up tree branch in this thing. But, all right. So then you just start mixing together. And I kept them separated just so you could see how much I was pouring. But you don't have to do that. You can pour the catnip straight in to the glue. And I'm using the back of the spoon to smear and drag to help incorporate it together. It kind of reminds me of making fresh pasta, if you've ever done that, where you're going for feel versus exact amount of water or flour. So I'm just kind of dragging my spoon. That way it gets all the little bits of glue and gets it worked in. And see how it's still a bit crumbly? It's not really wanting to stick together. That means you need to add just a little bit more glue. Let's see if I have enough hands for this. Woo, okay. So add the glue. And then mix again. And if you add too much glue trying to fix it, then add a little bit more catnip. I mean, it's not gonna hurt. And I think it's neat that I'm seeing these so much online and in stores. They even have little suction cup versions of these balls that are for your cats that you just stick on the wall and they sit there and lick and rub on. They come in silver vine and catnip and a honeysuckle root, things like that. But they cost so much. Those suction cup ones are $12.99 a piece. All my materials didn't even cost 12 bucks, and that would make dozens. So I gave it just a second to moisten the catnip, and I'm making sure I have enough. It doesn't seem like there's very much here, but it's going to spread around the ball. You don't have to have a really thick coating. You want your cat to be able to destroy it if they want to. That's something that people don't seem to get about pet toys in general, is some pets have a need to kill. And if they don't get to kill, then they destroy something of yours, like shoes, toilet paper. So sometimes you just have to give them something they can just destroy without destroying their own teeth. That's a big thing. Don't give them anything that's too hard that's going to break teeth off. Okay. So I think I'm going to do just a little bit more so you can see how much I have. I'm going to add just a little more of the glue and the catnip. A little bit more. Pull out the sticks. And then mix it up again. Let me mix this real quick off camera where you can't see what I'm doing through the magic of TV or phone, computer. All right. Adding just a dash more glue. Like I said, it's like making pasta. You got to get that right consistency, and then you get your hands dirty. All right. There we go. I do recommend using a metal spoon just so you can kind of really work with it, but a paper bowl, less wash. All right. So I'm gonna divide it in half, put my catnip to the side, and then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take a chunk of that catnip and kind of spread it out on my hand some. It's very wet grass feeling, like right after you mow the grass. Then press the ball into what's in your hand and start working it together, rolling the ball around. There we go. You can kind of see I had a piece that was stuck to my finger. So you're just going to manipulate it around, and it does spread by rolling it. So you can get a nice thin coat all over the ball. And then take your other chunk and put it on the other side and start spreading it out too. I didn't want to do it all at once, just because then you have it really lopsided and just on one side of the ball. And then I'm just pressing as I'm rolling it around in a ball, trying to get it to spread out evenly. If you can see, I have just a couple little bald spots left, and I can easily manipulate what's already on here into that. I can spread it around, and then I'm using my fingers to spread it, because it's kind of lumpy. If you see, this side almost has a flat side to it. So manipulate the thicker pieces around and really spread it. And this does seal up that hole that you put the rice in. You just sealed it over. And if you're like me and discover that you might not have quite enough one little bald spot that I'm not happy with, and I don't want to spread it too thin because then it chips off easily. I'm just going to take a little bit more catnip, remove the stick, or get it glued to your finger and sling it back. I mean, sticks. And then add more glue. You can see what I did here. Or not, because I just covered it up. Okay, let me mix this together. There we go. Just quick mix. Okay. Still a little dry and crumbly. So do y'all have any questions? I do have some that were submitted ahead of time, but I'm going to go over in just a minute. I just figured I'd get the toy out of the way so I can just talk. And let's see. All right, so my last chunk, I'm gonna put it over that bald spot and then just work it into my hands again. And yes, I said this earlier, let it dry overnight, but there you go. You have a nice, even catnip ball. This one has a stick on the outside of it because apparently this catnip, they didn't grind it all. If I were to make catnip, it would just be leaves. Just advice to people. But, so there we go. It's done. It rattles. It'll rattle more once this is dry. It'll let the sound through more. So just let it sit and dry overnight. I put mine on the air vent. It seemed to really help it dry very quickly. And I'm going to seal this up and get goo all over everything because I did this backwards and should wash my hands first. And speaking of, I was smart. I got a hand towel and got it really wet so I could wash my hands down in my studio area and be able to not have to be off camera to go wash my hands. I mean, what's that for some forethought there, huh? Okay. And again, everything is non-toxic and safe. Clean. Alright. So let me straighten up here a little because I have compulsive issues. Along with apparently a psychosis. I'm a bit crazy. I'm aware. I hope you like the quirk when it comes to my videos. And if there's ever a type of toy that you think, I don't know if that would work. Sometimes they're just experiments that surprisingly work, like the cat wheel. I think people get the wrong impression about the cat wheel, that in the picture it looks small just with the way the photography worked, but it's 3 feet wide. It's not like it's something that's itty bitty. And my cat, who has blossomed into almost 18 pounds, can fit in it without it sagging, gets in it. My son, though, kind of claimed it as his. It became a racetrack. And cats don't want to run in a cat wheel that has cars in it because they fall on top of their heads. So it doesn't get used very often by the cats because my son has claimed it. That's what happens when you have 5-year-old boys. But other things like my window boxes, people have said, the cardboard box one that sits on the inside of the window, have said that, you know, their cat couldn't possibly sit in it. I made that video over 7 months ago, and my fat cat is still using it. Granted, the last 2 weeks she hasn't used it as much because she's been outside in the window box that I made for them to be able to go outside and get some air, bird watch, squirrel watch. Oh, speaking of cats, there's one in here. How could that happen? So she's not in her cardboard box as much sunning because she's outside sunning. I do have to say, on a completely, yeah, there's the cat. On a completely different thought, I'm a bit ADD. I really enjoy watching my cats play with and just be thoroughly engaged with the things that I make. It's rewarding just to know that, it did work. It is something that they want to play with. It's neat because my cat plays fetch, so certain toys I can throw and she brings back to me, or in the middle of the night she brings to me and wants to play with, even though I might be asleep. But back on the first train of thought, if you ever want to, suggest that maybe that might not work, or it does work, or you want to see it done a little differently, I love input. I may give you an argument back of why it does or does not work. But I really like to know, someone recently wrote me and said that their cat prefers to play with different types of balls. Things that, like my cat trees that I've been making, that's not up their alley. So I'm making sure to mix things up. But if your cat likes wand toys only, I want to know that. I want to know what they do for interaction. Let me take a sip here real quick. Oh, and I do not recommend letting this dry on anything paper or anything wood, because you don't want the glue to be left behind. So that's why it's on my little paper towel back here. So, let me get to some of the things that have already been asked through questions. Unless, Jeremy, are there any questions or people talking?
No. Tom Sawyer stopped by, our outdoor influencer.
Hello, outdoor influencer. He's another YouTube channel. Definitely go check him out. He does magnet fishing. He's one of our friends. I did have from Instagram Peter the ginger cat. He's a very cute kitty. I believe it's his mom that takes a lot of pictures of him. They wrote about stimulation. How to keep a cat stimulated while being an indoor cat only. That is a problem that people may not realize that there is, of how bored cats get. I think now that everyone's had to do this isolation and stay in their house, people get a little bit more of why indoor cats need stimulation, because goodness, we're all going stir crazy. So you want to mix things up. You have to imagine that your cat is basically a 3-year-old. They get bored really easily. Also, when you put a toy away and then bring it out a different day, it's like getting a whole new toy again. So don't have every toy out in a bucket for them to choose from, because they're going to see it and not be amused by it. So you want a container that they can choose from if you want, that's out, and then some that you cycle through. So maybe have one Rubbermaid container out of new toys with another one that's put up in the closet. You really want to cycle through your toys. Having different types of toys is really important. Wand toys, fetch toys. Believe it or not, cats will fetch very easily. If you know your cat likes catnip but not silvervine, or silvervine but not catnip, or both, mix it up when it comes to their sense of smell. I did do a video on different cat attractants. There is a type of Canadian honeysuckle that the root of it specifically is very, very popular with cats. My cats love cat grass, lemongrass, lemon balm, the lemony stuff, if you couldn't tell. They will break out of the house to get the lemon balm on the front porch. And puzzle toys are very good. It's not something that you have to do every single day with a cat, unless that's how you're feeding them. So foraging toys, yes, you can hide toys throughout the house for them to have to find to eat. But just mixing it up, one day we've all seen the toilet paper rolls where you can put treats in them and they have to scoop out the treats, or cutting holes in the outside of the toilet paper roll and kind of folding over the edges so it's sealed, and they have to roll it to be able to get the treat to fall out. Different things like that are very good. They do not cost anything because, as we all know, we all have toilet paper rolls. Some of us more than others. And just trying to think of, what's going to amuse them that day. Just really thinking outside the box, or in the box. The new Amazon box that comes, the packing paper that comes in it, the box itself. There's lots of different things that you can do and mix up that don't cost anything, and that can be something that's new every few days. Let's see. I do want to talk about safety. That is one of the biggest things when it comes to designing a toy. You really want to make sure that it's something that they can't swallow. If they do swallow, is it going to cause an issue? Is it going to get stuck in the stomach and then the intestines try to bunch up? I'm a big fan of using, if you're going to do some type of string, paper rope. You can get it at Michael's craft store, get it online. It's kind of a safeguard. You can use it as a string, of course, or tie things together. But if they bite off a piece, you don't have to worry about the stomach holding on to it and it becoming a problem. It will get digested. Being a vet tech, I have seen some crazy things come out of cats. They will eat as much weird things as a dog. I have seen dollar bills come out of cats. And, of course, the fishing hook, the needle, a set of ear pods, or like earbuds, the whole string. You never know. And with a cat, you have to think about if they can get it caught on their tongue, the way the bristles on their tongue are pointed, they point towards the back. So it's going to constantly, if it can get hooked on those little burrs, it's going to get pushed back to the throat, and they are not going to be able to get it back out. So definitely think of safety. Is it toxic? Is it going to break teeth? And believe it or not, simple is better. Just, the wrinkling of brown paper, or like a brown paper bag, drives cats nuts. That's why I try to make so many toys out of paper. There's just something about that sound, that they hear that rustling and their eyes dilate immediately. And they go into that hunt mode and they start stalking. So using toys that they can find themselves and ones that are attached to wand toys is always a good idea. My ring toys that I've shown how to make, those, here comes my big girl. Those can definitely be used on the wand. My husband's saying don't be ADD. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But I moved. It scared her. But you want things like those ring toys that you can attach to the wand, you can throw, they can find around the house and carry around. And also, they can destroy it. They can rip pieces off of it, and it's not a big deal. If you think about what they do when they get a hold of a bird, they sit there and they start just ripping out the feathers. They don't eat the feathers. That's why I don't make a lot of toys with, well, I really haven't, I don't think, out of 50, there's a kitty. Out of 50 toys so far, I don't think a single one of them has feathers. And it's because the cats just want to get it and rip the feathers out and get to the meat. They don't care about playing with feathers. Yes, they're enticing for a second, but they just want to gut it. So maybe I'll work on a toy that they can purposely rip feathers out of. But that's why I do like a lot of the paper toys, because they can tear it apart, and it's paper. It costs pennies. So, any other questions, visitors? I'm just talking to myself like I usually do.
Jeff wants to know what happened to the pig.
Oh.
I don't know if your
If you
viewers
follow
knew.
my Instagram, we had a pig visitor for a few days. He needed to be rehomed, but he did not like big dogs. So, the pig got to find a new home. Well, he actually went back to his family. He was being rehomed because his mom, who he loves a whole lot more than he loved me, she's allergic to him. She ended up contact allergy. She breaks out in a rash just by touching him. But he's back home, and she wears gloves so she can pet him. You know, you do what you do for your pets sometimes. I'm highly allergic to cats. I take a lot of allergy medication. So, you know, you do what needs to be done for the love of a pet. And if you can see how big this cat is, people say, you know, your cat, there's no way my cat could fit in that. She is a monster. Very heavy. But that is my Cindy Pawford, because she has a black mole right there. And she likes to be on camera. I'm sure you've seen her in other videos. So I think that has everything covered. Thank you for bearing with the beginning of my video. Hopefully we can do some more Q&As that are a little bit, they start a little bit smoother. I know once I get to 1,000 subs on YouTube, that'll be a lot easier, because YouTube doesn't let you just directly stream without 1,000 subs, but my numbers are growing and we'll get there soon. So I don't have my sign up on the wall at the moment, but go make your cat some toys. Bye.